once in a blue moon, this phenomenon happens where
The stars align.
local grocery store has their 15% off day on the same day as they have their case lot sale and the same day as they have their plenty for 20 sale, which means 4 packs of meat or select vegetables for $20, but you also get 15% off that. So yesterday was that day. And we are here to show you some amazingly frugal meals. These can all be made ahead. You are not going to believe the cost of these. This was the ground beef that I got. I did go to several stores. I did look at flyers and, did some price matching and that kind of thing. But this ground beef in Canada, where prices are more expensive than a lot of the States, this is $5.11, but I got 15% off that. We are gonna start by browning the ground beef. We are gonna take you along on this journey with us today. We're gonna show you everything we do because we're gonna tell you how inexpensive this is gonna work out to per serving in a little bit. Stick with us, we'll show you how. So what we've discovered is the fastest way to brown a whole bunch of ground beef at one time is to use foil-lined baking sheets. Then we break it up with our handy mix and chop, put that in the oven at 400 degrees. We do check on it here and there and just mix it around a little bit with the mix and chop. If you're using regular ground beef and not lean, then you're gonna wanna drain it halfway through or at the end. We just like to brown it all up at once, that way it's ready. And when you're doing freezer meals, you do wanna cool it before you start working with it. We are going to make some chicken drumsticks, but before we get to that, I'm just gonna grab some water in this pot so that I can get it boiling on the stove because we're gonna be doing a green pea pasta that sounds delicious. So I can get that started. I was able to find 2-for-1 chicken drumsticks.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
I know. If we hadn't just recently done our mega session, where we did 3 months of meals and we included 2 different chicken drumstick recipes in that, made 4 of each. So we've got 8.
We're good for drumsticks. So you only bought 2. I'm glad you only bought 2. We're,
Normally, if I can find 2-for-1 on something, I'm gonna practically clean out the store. But this time, I restrained myself. So this works out to $6.50 because it was 2-for-1. So if you break that down, then each of these is gonna cost $6.50 and feed 5 people.
very nice.
So we've got our chicken drumsticks in the bag.
Yep.
Then we're gonna add some olive oil. It's 3 tablespoons, but
so part of making freezer meals is sometimes being fast. So maybe I got 4 tablespoons in there, but we want the paprika, because that's coming, to stick to it. So we're gonna, can I do this and talk?
yeah.
So we're gonna just massage it around in the bag. No bowls, haha.
Then we're gonna add some paprika. It is 3 teaspoons.
Of paprika, which is a tablespoon. So again, I'm just cutting my time here. Do you know what, when I was doing the oil, I almost said, well, I almost put a 1/4 cup in because 4 tablespoons is a 1/4 cup. It's helpful also if you learn your conversions. And that's not really a conversion, it's a added up. Is there a real name for? So really cover it nicely, right? And we got that oil in there already, so it's not really sticking to the sides too bad. It's really doing a good job of sticking to the chicken. Some chicken more than others, so we just really want to give it a good going over. Open our bag back up.
Then we're gonna add some cloves of garlic. Now we just use minced garlic. We just use minced garlic from a jar. I just accidentally said jarlic.
Sometimes we call it jarlic because it's funnier.
And some lemon juice and salt. Again, we're just gonna kind of guesstimate with lemon juice. Oh, I'll grab salt.
There we go. Ta-da-da. You do it. Salt me up, baby.
And that's it. Our paprika chicken drumsticks are all done. These can be baked in the oven or in the air fryer.
So you want to get all of the air out of the bag as much as you can anyway, because that is what causes your freezer burn and your frost. So to preserve it for longer, you know, you just get the air out of the bag. Look at that baby.
That looks really, really
It looks
tasty.
really, really good. And then our favorite part, the label.
While you throw the label in there, I'm gonna check on our ground beef because I can smell it.
I can smell it. It is starting to really smell good in here. Voila, look at that. Now you might think there's only like 4 ingredients, 5 ingredients in there. Why would I make this as a freezer meal as opposed to making this for like a Thursday night dinner? You can totally do this for a Thursday night dinner. You can bake this, you can air fry it, you can do it however you like. Here's why I like that it's a freezer meal. Because Thursday morning when I wake up, I can just go and take this out of my freezer and I can set it in my fridge. I can put it in the sink to defrost it a bit. I just know that Thursday for supper, I already have something ready to go. There is something on deck. And when I am running appointments or if I am coming home from work, I work from home, it's not really that hard. But if I was coming home from work, I used to work in an office, I would know that, oh, I already have something out for supper. I just need to make, you know, a starch and throw a salad together. This is already done. It's more of the mental load business than it is about the fact that it took us 3 minutes to put this together. It's because it's going to save me an hour on the other end and the mental load of it. That's why this is. And for those of you that are paying attention to the money end of things, I wouldn't have been able to take advantage of the sale the same way. Because I don't know about you, but have you ever gone and got the 2-for-1 drumsticks and then already had decided what you're going to have for supper that night, so you don't eat them, you don't do anything with them, you just throw them in the freezer. And then they have that thin plastic on there. They don't last. And a month later, you look at it and I'm like, yeah, I got a great deal on these, but they look kind of gross. They're starting to get freezer burn because I didn't do anything with them at the time. So that ends up being wasteful. If you are able to plan ahead a little bit and get the deal where you're having the, you know, who gets this? The 15% off the same day as the case lot, the same day as the plenty for 20. You know, you do get to take advantage of things like this and get them into your freezer, and that is money in your bank. Normally we recommend to people that they do their prep the day before. It does a couple of things. It allows you to break it up so you're not on your feet as long, but the other thing is so it has a chance to cool overnight in your fridge. Today we are doing our prep the same day as we are doing our cooking, and so we want this to cool faster. So my mom taught me this trick a long time ago. If you need something to cool quickly, you spread it out onto trays, because look at that, you can see the steam coming off of these. And all of that surface area is going to allow that ground beef to cool faster. If we really want to get fancy, we can throw this in the fridge or the freezer if we have room. I can tell you we do not. It's going to have to rest a minute. It allows you to cool it faster. Now, this one also works for cooked rice. I also remember my mom telling me that chicken fried rice works better with day-old rice. So you want to cool your rice, and we use rice in our bags all the time. You want to cool the rice before you put it in the bag. Otherwise you get the condensation, you get moisture in it, and we don't want that. So we're going to allow it to cool, and we'll get back to the ground beef in a bit.
So our water's boiling. I'm gonna get the pasta in here for our green pea pasta dish. This is one that we're making all ahead so that it'll just be a quick reheat on the day you go to make it.
So I'm a big fan of using a garbage bowl. I've talked about it before. Rachel Ray uses one on her show and I'm like, oh, that's so smart. And she puts everything in it, like her peelings and her plastic or whatever. It just makes everything faster while you are right there. Charlotte has a compost pile out back, so we do actually separate our garbage from our peelings and stuff like that. But it is handy to have a little garbage bowl just off to the side. Helps you keep a clean workstation and makes everything go faster. I am now doing my mom's pet peeve of cutting way too much off that carrot. You could feed a whole army on what you threw out in carrots today. Can you hear your mom or just mine? Because we only have a little bit of onions to do today, I am choosing to go ahead and prep these just using my knife, but we do have a very fancy onion chopper that sometimes you see in our larger videos, and it is very handy for doing large amounts of onions, peppers, and that's kind of it. But man, when you were doing 40 cups of onions, oh, I'm just gonna take that. It's not that nice of a layer. I'm gonna take that one off too. When you have 40 cups of onions, boy, is that thing nice.
So for our green pea pasta, we're actually gonna make it on the stove. Now, if you've watched our videos for a while, then you know that normally what we do is that we make things pretty raw and then we cook them on the day of. But sometimes we like to cook things up ahead entirely so that it's just a reheat. One of the reasons that we do this is if you're cooking for one, or if you're cooking for lunches, then you can do individual servings and just reheat in the microwave. Or you can do, like, this can be a family size too, and you could reheat it in the oven, but it'll be ready so fast. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna heat some oil in a stovetop pot, and we're gonna add some minced onion to that. We're gonna let the onions saute for just a few minutes, and then we're gonna start adding some of our other ingredients like that minced garlic. We're gonna add some salt into our onions. And now that those have started to soften, I'm gonna add some garlic. And probably the thing that makes this taste really good, which is butter. I'm gonna add 4 tablespoons.
Easy there, Paula Dean.
Now we're gonna add some frozen peas. And I just reread the recipe and realized that I was supposed to add the butter after the peas in a little bit, but it's still gonna work out just fine. That's the thing about cooking, is it's a little more forgiving than baking, which is why I prefer it. And so this recipe is still gonna be delicious, I'm sure. I've actually adapted this recipe. My friend Monica, who's got an amazing vegan website called The Hidden Veggies, has a version of this recipe on her site. Hers is, of course, a vegan version. It doesn't use butter, but this one is gonna be similar, although, of course, now I've messed up the steps, but it's still gonna be similar. And her recipes taste amazing, so I have no doubt that this is gonna be really, really good. Now, earlier when I made the pasta water, I reserved 1 cup of that pasta water, so it's got the starchy goodness of the pasta in there. And now I'm just gonna add this into our pea mixture. So next we are gonna add our Parmesan cheese, but we're only gonna add 3/4 of this cup. We're gonna use the rest on top of the pasta. And as I've been making this, I've been deciding that I do think that we should do this in individual serving sizes. That way they'll be really nice for my lunches or for some of our kids to take to work or school with them. The pea, butter, onion, garlic mixture thing was already simmering, so this should melt in there nicely. Now we're just gonna add a little bit of pepper and of course some red pepper flakes, because can't have any kind of pasta in this house without red pepper flakes. And then we're going to stir this into our pasta noodles that we had already drained and run under cold water, so they're already cool. We're gonna allow this to cool before we add it into our containers, and then we'll top it with that Parmesan cheese.
Now that the ground beef is cooled, we can just put it into a bowl, and we put in a 1 cup measuring cup because 2 1/3 cups of ground beef generally equals a pound of ground beef. So that's how we measure it out.
So I could not let that ground beef sale go by without grabbing a whole bunch. So we are doubling the Cowboy baked beans today, and we're making a Korean rice bowl, which is really nice.
It is really nice. Now my husband really likes the beef when we make the beef. Sometimes he complains a bit that there's too much chicken, and there isn't actually. It's just his perception. There really is a lot of beef recipes in our repertoire and in the Freezer Meals 101 Club. And so, like I said, 2 1/3 cups of the ground beef. How handy that it's just right here with the scoop. And we're gonna get that into our bag. And so this, I think, was an invention on your part.
Yes, it's something that I invented after one of our mega sessions when we had some ground beef left over. It's the same mega session that I invented our curried ground beef with the peas and carrots in it.
That is
so good.
That's something that I feel like I would make on the off, like when we aren't having our freezer, like when we aren't having our mega session and we've used ours up, I would make that again separately. And we had it the other night. We had both of ours already because we did just make it in the mega session, and it's so fast because I'm going to keep cooking here. Garlic, and it is just a reheat. It's super fast. And my husband again was like, "Oh, that's so awesome! You should make that one again." I'm like, "You have had it like twice in the last month, but okay then." So like, really, let's not get too concerned about him and the ground beef and the chicken.
My grandson is like, he's 1.5 years, and he loves. We're gonna add ginger.
A tablespoon from the squeezy tube.
He loves curry. Like anything curry. Our seafood curry recipe, our chicken and a mango cream sauce, which has curry in it.
Yeah.
And this curried ground beef, pretty much, especially Madras curry paste. And he's the pickiest child, but he will eat curry. So we also made ours from the mega session less than a week ago.
And he loved it.
And he devoured it. First
So
night.
good.
When we had leftovers of it, he wouldn't touch them.
Yeah, obviously he's a toddler. A complete toddler,
Yeah.
not just like, you know. We need a tablespoon of honey in here, and I have decided to use my measuring spoon for the honey after great debate because I'm not using it for anything powdery after this. It's only going to be liquids. So I am going to put my honey in here. Now, I did throw the honey into the microwave for like 10 seconds just to make it a little bit more melty. We had somebody ask in our Facebook group recently about what melted honey was. And so I'm like, oh, well, it's just honey that's been melted. Now, you could do it on the stove. I know people don't like to put the honey in the microwave. And for the most part, I don't either. But I needed a quick fix today, so we did that. It just makes it a little bit easier. 3 teaspoons of sesame oil, which is also a tablespoon. So here we go.
I feel silly just standing here not cooking. Like, oh, I'll just watch it.
You stood at the stove and made peas, right?
I did.
You did. And then red pepper flakes, there's no measurement on that. It's just it's a heart measurement. You measure red pepper flakes with your heart. Like cheese and bacon.
And garlic.
And garlic. I got to use my full 3 teaspoons of garlic in here this time. What else is nice about this recipe is that it's so thin, it thaws in a hurry. And so if you forgot to take it out the night before or that morning or something, and you are racing to your freezer, or you did take one out and then you had extra company show up, you can go get your other one, because we usually make these in doubles, honestly. And bam, you can just defrost it and away you go.
And all you need to do is really serve this over rice. You can add shredded carrots into this one if you want, or you can serve it with a side salad or with some slaw, but it's so easy.
It's so easy. And of course, the label, our favorite part. And you can get those in the Freezer Meals 101 Club.
We are gonna take a little break for lunch because we've been cooking all morning, and we are gonna make some. Christy brought her leftovers from street chicken tacos, which is a really amazing freezer meal that we have.
I hadn't had it yet. The first time we made it, it was in our Costco copycat video, and we only made one. So you ate it and you're like, this is so good, it's so good. So at our last mega session, we made it again, and then I got to have some. And seriously, I think this is probably the best freezer meal that we have. And you would never, ever, ever know that it's a freezer meal.
She came in this morning and she's like, I brought us lunch. And then she's like, I finally had the street chicken tacos, and I think they may give the other meals a run for their money.
They really, really might. I might have to say, I don't know what's at the top of my freezer meal list right now of favorites. This might unseat it. It really, really might.
So we're gonna make you jealous, and we're gonna eat some street chicken tacos, and then we're gonna get back to our frugal meals.
So Cowboy baked beans are probably my all-time favorite thing to take to a potluck because it feeds a bunch of people. This feeds 6 people, but you know when you take things to potlucks, there's like a spread out, so people just take little bits. This will feed 20 people on a day like that, right? And it's hearty, and it's delicious, and it's warm, and it's just awesome. So we are going to start out with our ground beef. Now, like I said before, 2 and about 1/3 of a cup makes 1 pound of ground beef. So when we are doing a big session, or even a session like this, we just keep a 1 cup measuring cup in there. And then for that 1/3 of a cup, I guesstimate it's more like half, and that's okay. Then we're going to add in a cup of diced onion, which I had already used some of it from earlier. Now we have our other one. 1 bell green pepper. I have another use for the rest of the green pepper, so I'm just gonna pour in about half. See, measuring is kind of loosey-goosey, kind of like Charlotte was talking about earlier with, it being a little bit more forgiving. A clove of minced garlic from our jar. Our garlic. Do you know that I'm not very good at measuring garlic, and just about everything gets the same amount, and it's usually just a giant tablespoon, but I'm being a little bit more careful today. Half a teaspoon of onion powder. Charlotte doesn't have like traditional onion powder most of the time. She does, because I am the director of spice management, and it is here, but I couldn't find it when I was looking. So we're using this fancy Epicure one. It's the 3 onion, and so it's got like little bits of onion in it. It's very, very good. I'm gonna show you the bits. It's got the little bits in there. Now, the next part of this recipe calls for 8 slices of bacon. We are not putting bacon in this one, we're cheating a little bit. Partly because it's frugal and bacon's expensive, but partly because you can buy beans with bacon in it. So these ones actually aren't even bad. There's one here that actually you can see meat in the fat. So it's not even just all that. It is flavorful, and it's getting the bacon in there. So it's a bit of a departure, but it's okay when you're trying to be frugal. We're not expecting you to put bacon in things when you're trying to be frugal, right? 4 cans of that, and I'm being a bit silly here because I probably should put these in at the end. Do you know what I'm saying? What else do I have to put in? Nah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I did miss the brown sugar though. I'm doing it out of order. I took a page out of Charlotte's books. A couple of tablespoons of brown sugar. So we're gonna balance this a little bit because we're getting to like critical tipping point. But I'm a professional. It'll be okay. We're going to add in half a cup of barbecue sauce. And the last bit is the Dijon mustard. And I don't really want to muck up my tablespoon, so I'm just going to guesstimate. There, that's 1 tablespoon. That's another one. All done. We're going to seal this sucker up. Now, on the day you go to cook this, you can do it in the slow cooker, you can do it in the stovetop, you can do it in the oven. I have done all 3. I like doing it in the slow cooker because then, you know, that big ceramic bowl retains the heat so nicely if you're going to do it for a potluck or something like that, and it's really nice. But man, is this good. You will have so many people asking for the recipe for this one, I promise. So again, we got to get that excess air out. Seal it up and we freeze it. And, oh, we got to put a label on. Cowboy baked beans. Our labels have the cooking instructions on them because we're so smart like that. There you go. One of our favorite kitchen tools is this little mini strainer. And you might think, why do I need that? I just strained all that ground beef in the big strainer and it was totally fine. This little guy is perfect. Here's why. It goes on the sink. It's kind of hard to see on the camera there, sorry. It goes on the sink, it hangs right there. And then we can just take our can of beans and it fits in there. And what else is it's graduated. So I know that I have 500 mils of beans in there. It's about 2 cups. And then I can also rinse it. And then I always make sure that I rinse my can. First of all, you want to rinse your cans before you send them to recycling. And the other reason is because once this is done, I can put it back into the can and rinse my next one.
When you think about inexpensive meals, soup is of course one of those things that comes to mind.
Oh, totally. You can stretch a soup, you can shrink a soup, you can do lots with soup.
You can throw like your leftovers in the fridge into the soup. You can find those little bits of like in your crisper of vegetables that are kind of on their tail end.
It'll go well in the soup because they'll just, you know, the water gets into them and it's like that bulks them back up.
It revives them. And, you know, if you add more broth or even more water, you can stretch it even further. Or if you hear that you're having company, you can suddenly add another can of tomatoes in there.
Totally.
So you're gonna make a Tuscan white bean soup.
I will make the soup.
Okay, so this soup works out to be a little under $5. It serves 6 people. Now that was with our 15% off, but still amazing. You could make it even if you didn't have the 15% off. If you made a homemade vegetable broth and didn't use the store-bought, then you could still make it for under $5. And it serves 6 people, so it's less than $1 a serving. The green pea pasta, I have to tell you, is $4. And that means, and it's got 6 servings as well. So like, I can't even do the math on that, but it's like little bits. Okay, you do this, I'm gonna go do that, and join us. It's gonna be super fun.
Awesome. I don't know why. I always love the Swedish chef. All right. It's 1 onion. I had diced up a bit more here, but we'll use more of the onion later. So I'm putting about a cup-ish. We have our garlic, 3 cloves of minced garlic, our jarlic. Carrots that have been peeled and diced, or peeled and sliced for soup readiness. Now, the kidney beans, we already went over this. They have been drained and rinsed in our fancy little colander that we have that fits on the sink. So obviously this is a vegetarian soup. No, not obviously to you that it's a vegetarian soup. It is a vegetarian soup. Obviously the beans will be the protein. Now, the bag so far is standing up all right for me. I'm gonna jostle it a bit and then fold up because we got more stuff to go. So now it's nice and stable again. We're gonna add in our bay leaves, 2 bay leaves. Oh, that one's kind of a half a bay leaf. There's a half. I'll do another half. So we got 3 bay leaves in there. Italian seasoning. 2 teaspoons. The sound effects help. The red pepper flakes. Now, Charlotte puts red pepper flakes on everything. So this sits over by her stove, usually, because that's where she pepperizes. When you open things, it gets messy. So I always just open it over the bag so a little bit falls in there. And then one time in a freezer meal session way back in the day, I forgot to put the lid back on tightly and I spilled an entire red pepper jar into a freezer meal and then gave it to Charlotte because she likes spicier things than I do.
I remember that well.
It was mean of me, but I did it. And I don't know if she actually ate it or not.
Yeah,
was it
we did.
edible? All right. What are we at? A tablespoon of lemon juice. And I just give it a couple of glugs because I don't want to get my measuring spoons wet. And then I have to dry it before I go to the next dry ingredient. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to estimate. And then salt and pepper, which I don't have right here.
Ooh, Charlotte to the
Garçon.
rescue.
Salt and pepper, thank you, ma'am. And because the vegetable broth is low sodium, so when Christy goes to make this, I'll probably add a bit more salt to it. When Charlotte goes to make it, she'll be just fine, just the way it is. Now, I don't know if you know the trick about when you open up a box. In Canada, we call these Tetra Paks. I think we're the only place in the world that calls them that. The first time we called them that in a video, people are like, what's a Tetra Pak? It's 4 cups, or about a liter of vegetable broth. And if you have to put a whole one in, you just make a little back pressure get in and bloop, 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 and you don't get the glugging and the splashing. Now, here's where we have to be careful. I'm holding the edge of the bag in case it decides to dive on me, because it looks like it might have gone over. And that's it. This is our Tuscan white bean soup. We didn't get any bowls dirty. We had to, cutting boards and stuff, but you were doing that anyway. If you're making this on the day of, mix it around. And I think that's very lovely. Now this recipe does call for celery. We don't put celery in things because Charlotte is allergic. And so I think it would look nice in there because then it would give it some green, but we don't want to poison anybody in this house. So we're just gonna omit the celery today. So we're gonna get all that excess air out, seal it up and freeze it. On the day you go to cook this, you're going to allow it to thaw. You are going to bring it to a boil on your stove. You are going to reduce it to a simmer. And then you are going to let it sit for like a good 30 minutes and let all those flavors meld, everything tenderize. And then right before you serve it, a few minutes, you're gonna add in 3 cups of spinach. There's our green. We're gonna get it all in there and enjoy.
We were able to get a lot done today. It was a little disjointed, but that's kind of what happens when you're throwing together like, hey, I got a sale on this, I got a sale on that, let's invent some recipes with them. And
Totally. I think it helps. We've been doing freezer meals together for so long that we can kind of do the whole back and forth of I'll do this, you do that, and it worked really, really well.
it did. And for part of this, I was actually in the other room having my computer fixed. And so, there was a little bit of like in and out, and it still worked out. And we had a great lunch.
Yeah.
And, it went really well. I have to tell you the part that you are probably waiting for, which is so amazing. I'm really proud of us.
Mm-hmm.
We got 27 servings. And actually, now that I look at the pea pasta, it's possible that we got more than 27 servings.
Yeah, I was looking at these and I'm like, that's pretty generous.
Yes.
Like, that definitely man-sized. My husband would eat that, but you and I would share that. Like,
Totally.
yeah, I think so.
So at least 27 servings. It came out to $25.50, which is 94 cents a serving.
Less than $1.
That is, and in today's grocery prices.
That's insane. That's
Yes.
wonderful. Oh, I forgot to, when I was talking about the Cowboy baked beans, I did forget to give the breakdown of what that cost. And it was a 6-serving meal for $5.
Yes, and that's only because we did get the beans in the case lot sale. The beans had the bacon in them, so it was case lot plus 15%
Right.
off the case lot price, and then we got the ground beef on sale and 15% off that. So there were a lot of, like at the
Right.
beginning I was saying all the stars aligned or whatever. Like this
Totally.
was kind of...
And who feeds their family a meal for $5?
It's amazing.
It is amazing, and that's a hearty meal. All of these are filling your family for $5. Really,
And
they are.
Those Cowboy baked beans, you throw buns with that,
Yeah.
and like people are going to be full. This is like, I'm really excited about this. We've done videos before of frugal meals, and we've always been surprised how much we've been able to do and how much we can stretch the dollar. But this, I have to say, is one of my favorites.
I think it kind of takes the cake. It really does. And here's the other thing. There's meat here.
A lot of it.
A lot of times we do our frugal ones and they're meatless because that's the most expensive part. But really, when you can catch the right sale and activate, like
Yes.
activate.
And 2-for-1 drumsticks.
I know.
Start the car.
Start the car. Yeah, this is really, really great.
So if you are looking to save a lot of money on your grocery bill, the easiest way to do that, the best way in our opinion, is to join the Freezer Meals 101 Club, because it allows you, I mean, yes, it does all the magic things, like it does your shopping list and your prep list from your meal plan of our tried and true freezer meal recipes. It does the beautiful labels with your cooking
Does the
instructions.
labels.
So there's all that magic where it takes the workout for you, but what it enables you to do is save the most possible on your grocery bill, because you're meal planning. So you're not
Hitting the drive-through, you're not hitting your app for a delivery.
and you're not grabbing those convenience items because you're not sure what you're gonna get. You're not having your produce go moldy in your crisper because it's actually getting used and put into the freezer bags. You are able to take advantage of the sales. Like if there's a 2-for-1 chicken drumsticks, you could have gone out and gotten enough for 10 chicken drumsticks meals and had those over the next 3 months and taken full advantage of that. Same with this ground beef sale. I mean, we are going to be making more than just what we're showing you here, because I got a lot of that ground beef. I mean, I had to for that price.
Of course.
So when you have the club, it allows you to touch the little chicken button, and then all the chicken recipes will populate. Or you got a sale on ground beef, click the ground beef button and voila.
It filters it for you. It is really great. There's a link down in the description below, or you can go to freezermeals101club.com.
And you can find the links to some of these recipes in the description down below as well, so you don't have to frantically be jotting things down while we're making them. But we really appreciate you being here. We had a lot of fun today.
It was really fun.
Despite our
Just scurrying
computer
around.
issues and scurrying around, and you know, it was a really good day.
It was.
Happy cooking.